Today is Sunday, November 1st, 2020, and today I'm thinking about money and mammon. And we know that Jesus told us that you cannot serve both God and mammon, and it's an interesting choice of words, mammon, and I think it probably is some sort of lowercase g god of times past, and because to me it just seems like a name. Anyways, mammon is wealth regarded as an evil influence or false object of worship and devotion. Just that part, that aspect, makes me think of it as some sort of lowercase g god of times past, mammon. And here, a lot of times in some old art, they actually have a representation of mammon as a person. And I think that's probably how mammon was worshipped back in the day, at some point. Or so here they talk about it's commonly thought to mean money, material wealth, or any entity that promises wealth and is associated with the greedy pursuit of gain. And it's kind of interesting. So many people, you see how people constantly like to talk about, oh, money is the root of all evil, and people like to talk about how everything in this world is because of money. People will say, follow the money, which is true to a certain extent, but for the people at the top of the pyramid, money doesn't even matter at a certain point. They're just numbers in a bank account. There's nothing backing it anymore. It's completely fake, phony, monopoly money at this point. And so these days, people that are outside the system because they're above it, money is not really important. What they have is they have perks, they have hidden land, they have just a lot of land, and they don't have to play by the same rules. It's really a trap, and money these days is fake. It's just paper with numbers printed on it. And I'm just going to talk about a few different things about money. It's a really interesting topic, and I have that other video on my channel talking about money. It might be a topic I talk again about in the future. Just how today's money is fake, and fake money for a fake society, and how the reason that money needs to be fake these days is because it's all a house of cards and it's propped up on nothing. When the government needs to do some huge project, they really don't have the true wealth to make that project. So what they have to do is print up their own paper fake thing and give that out as currency to people to accomplish these huge projects. And money is a type of magic, if you think about it. It only works because people believe in it. If people stopped believing in the power of a dollar bill, it would vanish. It would be worthless. And one day it'll be like that. It reminds me of the Fallout games where bottle caps become currency and paper money is meaningless. And that's how it's going to be soon. I think when the NWO really, like when the beginning of the end, Mark of the Beast and all that, I don't think that paper money is even going to be a thing anymore. There will probably just be a one worldwide currency, and it'll probably all be digital. And I bet you'll get good citizen points for doing what the government tells you and for ratting on people, and you'll get bad citizen points and you'll get your fake money taken away. Anyway, it's just things I think about sometimes. Now, I would say in Eastern religions, it's very obvious that money is tied in with magic and spiritualism, and people are very superstitious about money, and money burning is kind of a strange idea. I just thought this was a silly story of old. They love having these tales of what happened in ancient Greece and all that, but it's just made up stories because you read it and you're like, that's not how real life would work. On the other hand, there are some situations where burning money might not be so unreasonable. It is said that the ancient Greek philosopher Aristippus was once on a ship at sea where he was threatened by pirates. He took out his money, counted it, and dropped it into the sea, commenting, better for the money to perish because of Aristippus than vice versa. I'm sorry, but if you did that in front of pirates, why do you think that they would just let you survive? They would just murder you on the spot. So, and who is like, give me your money, and then they let you sit there and count it all out, they would just, they would have just tied this person up and found the money. I just love all these stories that they tell us, that if you just think about it for like 5 seconds, you can see, yeah, that's a BS story. That's not how real life would work. But they love these tales of old. So in the eastern part of the world, a lot of people burn money, and there's this thing called Joss paper, ghost or spirit money. And it's part of ancestral worship. These people worship their ancestors. They had some strange names for this in Chinese. Netherworld paper. Paper money, which is kind of funny. That they just call paper money the same thing as this fake money that they burn for their ancestors. Shade or dark money. Just kind of an interesting idea. Different types of spirit money are given to distinct categories of spirits. They have all these little rules about their superstitious, pagan, ancestor worship rituals. And I thought these were really interesting. They would burn these little monies with like scissors and clothing, and it reminds me of what they tell us about the ancient Egyptian people with the tombs being full of earthly stuff. And to me, it's just an obvious, direct contrast to what we know about the kingdom. Of course, there's not going to be money in heaven, but these people are burning money, thinking that they're sending money to their ancestors. And we're not going to, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this. It's just so obviously dumb, really low level magic, superstition. I don't know what do these people really believe that burning a piece of paper with a pair of scissors on it is sending a pair of scissors to people in the afterlife? I don't know exactly what to think about it, other than it's clearly this pagan, and the burning is how people make these sacrifices to lowercase g gods. More contemporary or westernized varieties of Joss paper include paper currency, credit cards, checks, papier-mâché clothes, houses, cars, toiletries, and servants. Could you imagine buying a papier-mâché servant and burning it and thinking that you're sending a servant to your ancestors in the afterlife? And the reason that they do this is because they believe that the ancestral spirits have power over the now, and so they think by, I mean, I'm just paraphrasing from what I've read, they think that by burning these things and giving it to their ancestors, that they will increase their fortune here on earth. Oh, I've been appeasing my ancestors, so I'm going to get something out of it today. And it's just strange. It's so weird to me that there's people out here that do this kind of stuff. It just reminds me of how it's so weird to me that there's a single person out there that thinks of themselves as a witch and does this stuff. I just can't wrap my mind around it, but it's because they're evil people. They're of their father Satan. That's why they follow these dark magics and they think nothing of it. I liked this. Hell banknotes. Hell banknotes serve as the official currency for the afterlife, because we know that if you're in the afterlife and you still are using money, then you're in hell, because there's no way that there's money in heaven. Some interesting things. I thought this was hilarious. Hell banknotes are known for their enormous denominations, ranging from 10,000 to, is that 5 billion? Man, the inflation in hell is going to be out of control. Here's this. It's like, and this mansion idea is mocking, Jesus told us that he's building us mansions in heaven. So they have these Joss paper goods of mansions that they would burn. Venerating the ancestors is based on the belief that the spirits of the dead continue to dwell in the natural world and have the power to influence the fortune and fate of the living. Chinese people are obsessed with good luck ideas. Luck is evil. There is no luck. There's God's will. Things happen because it's God's will. And there's no such thing as luck. Chinese people, to them, the number 666 is a lucky number. And that should just show you enough. They have to know that that's the mark of the beast, but they pick that as a lucky number. Money doesn't grow on trees, but wait, yes it does. And I know that they say that American money has cotton in it or something, but the point is that the mocking is all the same. Money doesn't grow on trees. Yeah, it literally does. These days, they don't even have to grow it on trees. It's just numbers in a bank account somewhere. They just have to digital. It's so much money is just digital. Who knows how little cash there is compared to the combined bank account totals that people have these days. They don't even need to grow it on trees. Someone just needs to plug it into a bank account. I think that this is clear idolatry and mammon worship. So think of when Jesus talks about Caesar. Oh, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, talking about money, because of course people print kings and queens and various rulers on money. It's been a long tradition, but I think it's interesting that on American money, they say, in God we trust. And it's like money is God to them. Mammon, in God we trust, and it's printed on money. To me, that's just such a clear, people worship money as a God. And I guess I'll just say a silly story. My dad made a lot of money in this life. And I've told him before, just like, you worship money. Money is your God. And he flipped out when I told him that. And I mean, there's so many people out there that they pretend to be Christian and they have so much money. And it's like, do you not read your Bible? Because Jesus told us many things about money and how you can't have money here and expect to go to heaven. And this in God we trust thing, to me now, there's this weird thing how America tries to pretend to be Christian, but America is just the leading opposition. They try to pretend to be Christian, but then at the same time they'll tell you, oh, separation of church and state. It's not like American public schools talk about the Bible. I mean, maybe they did in the past, but nowadays, I don't know, it's just really dumb. What some celebrities wear a cross every once in a while, and that's what makes America a Christian nation, I guess. Politicians wear a little cross pin if they're Red Lodge. That's not what makes something a Christian nation. And just the fact that our money talks about in God we trust, I think that they are saying that money is their God. And it's fake. It's monopoly money. There's no backing. You can't go into a bank and say, give me $20 worth of gold for this paper. That's not how it works. And yeah, one day people will stop believing. The only reason that money has power is that people will stop believing. Or the only reason that money has power is that people believe in it. And the second that people stop believing in the power of money, everything is going to change. And in heaven, of course, we won't have money. That's it. This is just a topic. I don't know. I feel like I could have said a lot more, but I'll just keep it at this. It's just interesting to think of people worshiping money as like a lowercase g god. Mammon, to me, it seems like somebody's name, like some lowercase g god's name. And just how many people surround us that do worship money, and how often you hear people talk about how, oh, everything's about money, but money is not going to exist in heaven. And I'm going to end with this, just kind of a few little things that I saw. Fake animals. I see stuff on this Retcon subreddit all the time about fake animals, and they all buy into it, and they all say stuff like, oh man, we've jumped dimensions. Now these animals exist that didn't used to exist, instead of just stating the obvious thing, which is you're being fooled. This is not a real animal. And this was just a really interesting one. There's a post on the front page showing a golden beetle that can disguise itself into a ladybug. And these are the kind of things where it's like, if this existed, everybody would have known about it. It wouldn't be a new thing. And it's because it's just a new hoax. And let's see if I got the video. Here we go. Let's just watch this. It is CGI. There is no such thing as this. If a ladybug could change its shell color, that would be like somebody with color changing fingernails or hair. Because think of color-changing animals. It's like cuttlefish or iguanas. They're changing their skin color. Your skin is alive, but the shell of a bug is not alive. It would be like your fingernails changing color or your hair changing color. I mean, we know our skin can change color. If we get cold, it might turn purple, things like that. So skin changing color is one thing, but this is just clear BS. But people buy it. Somebody videotaped themselves with the ladybug crawling on them, and then they used computer graphics to paint it gold and then slowly erase the filter. People will believe anything these days. Rather than conclude, oh, somebody's fooling us with CGI, people are like, oh, we shifted timelines into a new timeline with a new bug. No, you're looking at a ladybug with some CGI. Anyways, it's time to vote. Vote for Moloch. Don't sacrifice your children to Baal. Don't sacrifice your children to Moloch. Vote Baal. Yeah, pretty much. There's no reason to vote. Nobody should vote. Voting is a trick to get people to consent to all the evil that they do. And the reason I picked this is because I think it's really interesting. It's like the cat's out of the bag. Does anyone remember 20 years ago people talking about Moloch and Baal? I don't. When I grew up, I don't remember seeing this stuff, but you hear people talk about this all the time now. Baphomet. I never heard about Baphomet when I was young, but now you hear people talk about it all the time. The cat's out of the bag. Totally different thing. The moon. So have you guys noticed that it looks like the moon is on a new track? Maybe we're really in the heart of fall now, going over to winter, because to me, the moon is in a completely different spot where I live now, and it happens fast. They don't want people paying attention to when the moon and the sun come up, where they come up. I think that goes into daylight savings time. I think part of daylight savings time, which is totally ridiculous name to begin with. You can't save daylight. They're not changing the amount of daylight. But anyways, I think part of the daylight savings time thing is to get people to not notice the change in seasons and how the sun and the moon change so quickly. Because in NASA Outer Space Fantasyland, everything would be continuous and it would be gradual day-to-day changes. But in real life, if you look at real life and you really look at the sun and you really look at the moon and you look at how they rise and how high they get and etc., you see the system is discrete, meaning every day is a totally new thing. It's not continuous. It's not smooth from one day into the next. And there will be a day where you're just like, whoa, the moon is in a totally new spot today. And it's because if you read, I don't suggest that you read all of the Book of Enoch because it starts to get pretty crazy at the end. And I think that the Book of Enoch has been heavily corrupted, which is why it's no longer in the Bible. However, the Book of Enoch, when it talks about the heavens, it talks about the sun and the moon being on different tracks up in the heaven. And that makes a lot more sense when you actually look at reality, because you'll see it'll just be one day and boom, the moon will be, it's like it's on a new track. And the moon is on a new track now, and it's rising really high in the sky if you live in the north. And just like a week ago, it wasn't doing that. A week ago, the moon still was pretty low in the sky, but now it's high in the sky. The sun is low in the sky now. It really means that we're shifting to winter. And what this image is about is something that you might notice. This is just something that you can notice if you park your car outside near some trees. This is the side of my car that is in moon shade. And notice how it's not very iced over. This is the other side of my car, completely iced over. But the side of my car in moon shade doesn't ice over. And the trees here are probably a good 15 feet away. People will say it has something to do with insulation. Oh, well, if something's in moon shade, it's insulated, so that's why it's not. But no, they're trying to hide the truth. That's the moon has cold light. That's why if something is in moon shade, it's warmer than if something gets direct moon, it's going to be colder. So this is just something interesting. If you live in the north, you can look out for this. If you have a car and it's parked somewhere where it's partially in moon shade on one side, look for it, because it probably won't ice over nearly as much as the other side. I guess if you live really far north, it won't matter. Everything will ice over. But okay, that's it for this video. God bless everyone.